Hi, I'm Danny Ramos, and welcome to this week's edition of Hispanic Speak Out TV, brought to you every week on Bright House Cable, Channel 49 at 9:30 p.m. every single Tuesday for 8 years, going into 9. I'm here with my co-host, Jose Miranda, who is a well-known radio personality here in Central Florida. He had his own radio show on English language radio, and he joins me as my co-host on Hispanic Speak Out. Tonight, we'll be talking about politics as usual, because we do cover politics here. But before we start, I just want to give you a heads up on a couple of items. Number one, we have in the state of Florida next year the 500-year anniversary of Hispanics landing on the east coast of Florida. Hispanics got here 250 years before George Washington did, and it was Ponce de Leon, who was the governor of Puerto Rico, who got here in 1513. And that means that Puerto Ricans were here before everybody else. Now, the Spanish language was introduced to Puerto Rico by Spain. So we give you a little bit of history. Juan Ponce de Leon, his family was originally from Spain. He became the governor of Puerto Rico. He was appointed by the King or Queen of Spain. He became the governor of Puerto Rico. And then he embarked on exploratory situation to get more territory for Spain. And he landed on the peninsula of Florida in 1513. To commemorate that, the state legislature of Florida came out with a license plate commemorating the Hispanic contributions to the state of Florida for the past 500 years. Next year will be actually 500 years. Right now it's 499 years. So you can get a plate, or you can look it up on the Hispanic Achievers website, www.hispanicachievers.org. Look it up on that website. You'll be able to see the plate, and you'll be able to get that plate for your car either through the website or at any of the 360 DMV offices throughout the state of Florida. The next item is that there's going to be an immigration summit coming up April 7th at the Sheraton Hotel, presented by some community groups. Hispanic Achievers is involved, the Community Hope Center in Apopka is involved, and also Homeland Security out of Washington is involved. We have a lot of people getting involved, congressional offices, educational institutions. We have representatives of the United Farm Workers, and basically we're going to hold a summit on immigration, or an all-day-long program. It's going to start at 9 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. There'll be 2 panels in the morning, then there'll be a luncheon, and then 2 panels in the afternoon. The first panel will be discussing issues that are pertinent to the dilemma of immigration in the United States, the pro and con, the issues of families, what families go through, the suffering that their kids go through, et cetera, et cetera. The next panel will be Know Your Rights, which will be manned by lawyers and law enforcement. Then we're going to have a panel in the afternoon that will be law enforcement from the federal level. ICE will be there, Homeland Security will be there, and local law enforcement will be on the panels. And then we'll close with the political agenda. What is freezing the immigration issue in the United States today? Why can't we come to a decision on what to do about the immigration issue? And it's going to be a full day. It's going to be educational. Admission is going to be free. If you want more information on that, get a pencil. It's going to be 321. The number is 321-277-0850. 321-277-0850. Or go to the hispanicachievers.org website. Jose, how are you?
Good. Good afternoon. How are you?
That was a mouthful.
It was. When is that date again?
That is April 7th at the downtown Sheraton. Okay. And we've rented the Sheraton Hotel. We've taken the ballroom for that. Right. And the panels are going to be set up. There's going to be panels at the front of the room, and then we're going to set it up classroom style. Okay. So this is going to be a true educational piece for the community, for community organizations, community leaders, and everybody who attends. The idea is, let's get it out in the open, let's discuss it openly, and bring the different elements that seem to be clashing together in one forum, you know, all day long. Okay. And then hopefully we can come out with some kind of consensus, at least on part of it. You know, you're never going to get a consensus on all of it, but maybe on part of it. So it's going to be an interesting agenda. I had a conversation today with the assistant for one of our commissioners here in Central Florida. Now, I'm not going to say the person's name, but
you don't want to? Huh?
No, I don't want to. I mean, you know, and they called to say that the commissioner would not be attending because immigration is a federal issue.
Oh, I see.
I went, what? What? A federal issue? Oh, it has nothing to do with kids going to school and education and expenditures on a local level and in the county. It has nothing to do with law enforcement because it's a federal issue, so all the illegal immigrants must be in Washington, D.C.
Yeah,
they must live in Washington.
Yeah.
None of them live in Central Florida.
Right.
You know? So, you know, this was...
Were you wearing boots at the time? When you
listen, let me tell you something. I couldn't help it, I started to laugh because it's either ignorance, complacency, or, you know, I don't know what it is. I don't know how a commissioner can come out with a statement that's a federal issue. So a commissioner, a county commissioner will not attend a forum because it's a federal issue when the schools are full. You know, they have issues. They have, and we have health issues around immigration. We have financial issues and it all affects the counties.
And when we've had Republicans wishing to identify these children that are in the schools so they can get to their parents. So it's
a big issue.
It's a big issue. Yeah,
it is a huge issue. So, you know, I don't know, you know, it's like I said, it's either ignorance, complacency, or I don't know, you know, it's got to be something that...
well, this is going to be a political issue this year.
It's a huge political issue.
Okay. So
it's always been a political issue.
So it's going to be about among the many things that...
Do you want to talk about immigration a little bit?
Sure. No problem.
Okay. You know, right now, you know, you have different points of view. You have the Republican point of view. I remember the comment that Ron Paul said. You know, Ron Paul, Republican Ron Paul, you know, he's got a lot of young people behind him, but, you know, nobody actually listens to what they say and then goes to look it up. You know, one of the comments that Ron Paul said was, you know, all those troops that we have on the Pakistani border, you know, we have thousands of troops on the Pakistani border. Let's take them all home and we'll put them on the Mexican border. I started to laugh, you know, because, you know, it's like, you make a statement like that because, you know, Ron Paul is an isolationist.
Yes, he is.
So he doesn't want to be anywhere in the world. Right. But the basic problem of that premise is that the United States sold and installed 100 nuclear missiles into Pakistan to protect us from whoever it is that... I know they're not doing nuclear missiles to protect us from the Taliban. Yeah, no. So it might be somebody else. You know? But, so we bring all those troops home, and then Pakistan is unstable already, so...
We're giving nuclear weapons away.
We're giving nuclear weapons to the terrorists because they got to walk in there and take all the nuclear weapons. Right. I mean, it's really stupidity at its peak.
Yeah. And the truth of the matter is that there are less people coming across the border now than ever before. And this president has sent droves of Mexicans back across the border.
He has been, so far he has been the president that has sent the most immigrants back, more than Bush in the whole 8 years. Yeah. So he's been hard on immigration. This president has been hard on immigration, and these guys on the Republican Party are toting that he's soft on immigration. Right. He's been hard on immigration.
Yeah, he's been really tough.
Yeah.
I think he wants to be fair, and that's why he's doing it, and he also wants to make sure that his critics don't say that he's sporting one side over another, and he wants to find a middle ground so that we can get something done, because you know, this country is built on immigrants. This country wasn't built from within.
Well, the commissioner who said that that immigration is a federal issue, that his county, that he should not be involved because it doesn't affect his county. His father is an immigrant who did very well here.
He's doing quite well, right? So.
Yeah. So, you know, again, no names. We'll let it ride. We'll let it ride. We'll let it go for an experience.
It's a shame because, you know, we also had the turn down of the DREAM Act, which even the Republicans were for before they were against. It's only when the president was for it that they decided they were against it. And here we are trying to kind of scapegoat a very small section of people who are not taking your jobs away from you. You know what I'm saying? Because they're not. These are not rocket scientists that are coming across the border. And I'm not knocking the people
we're getting the low end.
Yeah.
Most of it is the low end of the spectrum. Not intellectually, not IQ-wise, but skilled-wise.
I believe so. I mean, and it's not, again, it's not any put down to
no, not at all.
To
it's
Mexican.
a reality. I mean, you know, when the Irish came here, the Germans here, they weren't skilled. Right. I mean, they were farmers. Right. You know? And this is the same thing that's happening here. These people are farmers.
And these people are hungry to succeed. They know they can come across the border and they can succeed here. And it's tough. Look at the lives they have to leave here in secret. I mean, they pay everything cash.
You want to know
they
something,
can't even
Jose?
they can't even get sick here.
Jose, this country, the farm economy of this country is based upon illegal immigrants.
Absolutely.
Okay? The states that grow oranges and the vegetables and the fruits that we eat.
You mean like us? Like
Yeah,
Florida?
Yeah, like Florida, okay? Their whole economic foundation is based upon the people who are here, who are doing the picking. They're bending over all day long, they're in the fields all day long, and they're not taking jobs away from anybody.
Yeah.
Absolutely anybody. So it's statistically proven. I mean, next week we can have the stats on that. We can prove it to you. Stats. These people are not taking jobs away from anybody.
Right.
Right now, you have a computer. There was this lady who got on the air, and she got an interview with Barack Obama, and she couldn't find her husband couldn't find a job for 3 years. He was a computer guy. Send him to go pick in the fields. You know, he wants a job, go pick in the fields. Go up to a popcorn and pick oranges. Or go down to California and pick grapes. He's not going to do it.
No, he's not.
He's not going to do it. So all the fruit on the tables of all these people is put there by these people. And it's always been that way. It's always been that way.
The solution is not going to be easy. I mean, because Reagan had the grandfathered in millions of. The Republicans do not want to do that again.
That's another myth. The Reagan myth is another myth. You know,
okay, so
that every time you see the guys and you know, if you know, again, Americans are totally educated in the political process by the 30-second sound bites that they hear on television.
Right.
Whatever they hear on television for 30 seconds, hey, that's it.
That's the truth.
That's the truth. That's the whole thing, you know? And Americans don't go, well, let me look that up. Let me find out whether that's true or not.
There's no time. There's no time.
So
then,
you know,
the
Reagan myth is a part of that. You know, everybody's saying, "Well, I'm a Reagan Republican."
Right.
Well, Reagan, you know, he opened the doors for undocumented workers and legitimized 2 million undocumented workers in the United States.
Right.
And he raised taxes you told me about 2 shows ago.
Yeah.
He raised how many times did he raise taxes?
10 times.
He actually raised taxes 10 times. So these people are creating this myth about Reagan. Now, Reagan was a successful president. At the end, you know, everything worked out for him.
But he did it quietly. Okay, when he raised taxes, it wasn't that.
Well, it was sculpted very skillfully.
It was a nice, smooth little thing, you know, and the tax was increased. Because he knew that in order to pay for things, somebody has to come up with the money. Okay, somebody has to come up with the money. And so he had to raise taxes. And that's the only way to do it. Well,
the fact of the matter is, he did raise taxes 9 times, at least 9 times.
Yeah, at least 9 times.
So this thing of this Reagan image that, you know, everybody wants to be like Reagan,
right,
is false. I mean, Reagan was a very middle-of-the-road Republican. He wasn't a conservative Republican, right, let alone a teabagger. He was middle of the road.
Well, he came in with this vision. We're not gonna raise taxes, which all of them.
George Bush did that too.
Yeah, he said, "Read my lips." Remember that? Yeah. Read my lips. No new taxes. You know, so it's a myth. This country can't. Somebody has to pay for this country, and you can't do it on the backs of the poor.
What I don't understand, and you know, I like Republicans, and I like a lot of Democrats. I like them both, but what I can't understand is that we're living in a country today where 1% of the people in this country control reportedly 40% of the wealth. 1% controls 40% of all the property and all the cash in the country. And that's what they report. That's what they can figure out. But then you got guys like Romney who puts unreported amounts of money in banks in Switzerland. So we don't know how much money he has in Switzerland.
Right.
You know, so we don't know what the real wealth is.
He just wanted to save in a place that he could earn a little bit more interest. That's all. A simple banking thing.
Yeah, it's a banking thing. It's a banking thing. It's making more money. But the reality is, here, the banks are suffering, and I heard it on Fox News, which is a Republican. Okay, I know how you feel about Fox. But wait a second. Hold on a second.
No, it's fair and balanced.
Okay. All right. So I heard on Fox News that there's a shortage of cash flow funds for small banks to lend to small businesses.
Okay.
Okay? And then we got a guy running for president of the United States who's supposed to be our president, and he stashes all his money in Switzerland and in the Cayman Islands, and nobody can count it. I mean, that's based upon his, and he doesn't know how much it is, and he doesn't know any of that.
Well, because it's in blind trust.
Yeah, because, you know, guys who have a lot of money never count their money.
They have somebody else to do it.
And whisper it in their ear over dinner.
Yeah. So, hey,
you know, I don't get that. And I don't get the 25 now, you know, the reported number is 24, but it's really probably a lot higher percent. 25% of children in this country today live in poverty. They don't live poor. No. They live in poverty.
Right.
25%. That's 1 in 4 children. Yeah. And it's getting wider and wider.
Right.
So the battle is over, do we tax a little bit more people who don't know what to do with all the money they got, right, and don't know how much money they got because they got so much that they stash it in places?
Well, look, back we'll go back a little bit to the Clinton era. Somehow the billionaires and millionaires were able to survive on a 39% hit on taxes. They were quite comfortable. It was only until Bush got in there, he decided they needed a bigger incentive, a bigger tax break. So why can't we go back to that 39%?
Because like Sean Hannity says, how much do you want me to pay? I'm already giving you 35% of my money. You know, how much more can I give? But the illusion is that he's giving 35% of his money. Right. But he still has $1 billion left, right, in cash.
Right.
So, you know, it's a question of, I think there's a human crack here in human personality, a human factor that breaks down, where how much money can you take to the grave with you? Right. I mean, how much can you stuff in the coffin or in the mausoleum? You know what I mean?
Now, you're not begrudging these people the fact that they can earn this kind of money, right?
I want them to earn as much as they're capable of. Okay. I have no problem with that. Okay. My problem is that
they should be able to give a little bit.
They should give a lot.
Oh, a lot. Okay.
It's this country is the country that gave them that money. They didn't make this money in Russia. They didn't make this money in Yugoslavia. They made it here. Right. And they made it because there are people that work for almost nothing that help them make that money. Okay. And that's okay too, because those people are making $10 an hour, $12 an hour, $7, $8 an hour. That's okay, because, you know, it's a skill set. And in the system that we live in, you get what your educational background is, et cetera, et cetera. But those are the people that make the millionaires and the billionaires. Because without them on the assembly lines, without them working, those guys don't make money. So to me, it's not a problem to give them half. Give back half.
So you don't believe that we should be thankful that they're making all this money, and we should just sit back at our homes or dinner tables and wait for them to give us a quarter off their plate so that we can continue to survive?
No, I don't believe in that, man.
You don't believe in that trickle-down theory?
No, I don't believe in the trickle-down thing, and I know for a fact that doesn't work. The trickle-down thing is like, the guy has, let's say a guy like Romney has $400 million. I mean, he claims to have $300 million. That means he has $400 million. Okay. So let's say he has $400 million. Right. Okay. So let's say in his next deal, he goes out and I'm gonna go get a company, right? And I'm gonna make a company and I'm gonna invest. He doesn't invest his own money.
Right. He invests somebody else's.
He invests somebody else's money. So he gets the money from other people. He keeps a large percentage of the stock or the investment portfolio, right, okay, and he gets other guys to put up the money, and then when the right time comes, he sells out, cashes in on his stock, okay, and just adds it to a stockpile. Right. Romney is not going to take his personal money, okay, and, you know, say, okay, I'm gonna
Gambling.
trickle it down. You know, I'm going to let it trickle down. You know, he's not going to do that. He's not going to do that.
But isn't that free enterprise, man? Isn't that what it's supposed to be about?
I love free enterprise.
We give that. We allow the 1% to just be gluttonous, and in turn, while they're sitting there playing water polo or something,
let them eat cake.
You know, and they just give us, you know,
let them eat cake.
They are so in tune to us because they've done so well. And so they're so willing to give.
I see. They're so in tune to us, like when he said that the poor, I don't have to worry about the poor
because they
have a net.
They have a safety net.
They have a safety net, you know? Right. So, you know, in other words, they're going to be on welfare for the rest of their lives.
Okay.
Or, you know, don't worry about it.
He's going to cut welfare. So
they have that, you know, and, you know, don't worry about it. When they start to starve and get big bellies, you know, we'll give them something.
Yeah.
You know, we'll give them something.
We'll give them something.
This guy is just... And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I would love to be wrong on this because, you know, he has looks like he has a nice family and all that, but his set of values, you know, when you really think about it, of what he says, and what he says comes out of him so naturally that I have to believe he believes it.
Right. Well, he's not the only one. I mean, you have Santorum, you have Newt. Newt's out there in his own place. Don't forget, if you vote for Newt, you get to be on the moon.
Well, what Santorum, I was watching Santorum on an interview. Santorum's another issue. Santorum comes on and he says, you know what? We're going to give all the employers these big fines if they hire illegals. Right. So we're going to shut down the jobs for all of these illegals. And you know what? They're going to go back naturally. Well, where would you rather not have a job? In the United States or in Mexico?
Yeah, really.
You know, not only that, you know what they're forgetting? They're forgetting that these people started an underground economy.
Yeah.
They have their own economy going. If they can't work on the books, they work off the books.
Right.
They have their own underground economy. Right. There's so many of them that one will sew shirts for the other one will, you know, will fix this guy's car and he'll fix that car, and there'll be a barter system, and they'll switch cash when they have it. They will survive without employers, without the so-called employers. So this guy Santorum, he thinks that they're going to go back. They're not going back. They're never going to go back.
There were special buses, you know.
You mean the ones with the Nazi flag on them?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Special buses
the
for
ones
them
with
to
the
come
Nazi
back.
flag. Round them up, take them to the ovens, right?
I'm waiting for them, one of these guys to come up and say, let's brand them, so we make sure we know who they are.
Yeah, and the forehead.
Yeah.
What happens when you get a couple of Puerto Ricans in there? You know, you know, it's like there are people in the United States that don't know the difference between. You know, and how can you tell? How can you tell a Puerto Rican from a Mexican or Venezuelan or Colombian? How can you tell?
You can't.
There's people out there that don't even know what I'm talking about right now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you know, Puerto Ricans have been citizens of the United States for over 100 years. It's the oldest territory of the United States because they were here before the United States. Puerto Rico was here before the United States was.
But you have citizens of Florida, for example, that think this is a foreign country. Okay.
What's a foreign country?
Puerto Rico.
It's not?
You know, so you'll have that.
Well, you know what? There are people in Florida that think Brooklyn is a foreign country.
Well, that's true, too.
You know? They think the Bronx is a foreign country.
Yeah. Well, so, sometimes it is.
For some people.
To some people, yeah.
But the reality is there's a lot of ignorance, you know, and you know, people buy what they see on TV.
Yeah.
And they buy it hook, line, and sinker. They don't evaluate. They don't look at what the real facts are and what's really at stake.
People are being frightened right now. You know, we've talked about this before.
But you know, you're right. That's it. Fear.
Fear. Right now it's fear. They are coming. I don't know who they are yet, but they are coming, and they will get you.
Hey, I'm coming and I'm going to get you. You know, I'm Hispanic. I'm coming and I'm going to get you.
You know, so it's that frightenness, and what you have is a populace that's a little older, and who sees their money, their alleged money pie dwindling, and now you have somebody saying the reason that you don't have what you have is because these brown-skinned people, or these light-skinned people, or these blue-eyed people, they are coming and taking your job. And so what you need to do, you need to rise up.
You see, if they would have kept slavery going, those people wouldn't be taking their jobs.
Well, that's true.
You know what I mean?
That's true. And the Republican Party is trying. Okay. The Republican Party is trying.
That's so bad.
All across the states, they are trying very, very hard to roll back the clock.
You know, a lot of people are very selective, and I have all the love and respect for the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution and all of that. It's a basically good, excellent framework to run a government. But what people forget was that at that time when that was written, and going all the way into up to 30 years ago, when Martin Luther King was alive before he was assassinated by the government, which I believe that he was killed by the government.
Are you throwing out conspiracy things now?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, we'll talk about that later.
We'll talk about that next time.
Okay.
You know, and you know, these people talk about these conservative issues, and they talk about the Constitution, but they forget the era around the Constitution of the United States and what was there.
Right.
I mean, the Constitution of the United States was written for a very few selected people.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was written for powerful people. It says all men are created equal, but all men weren't created equal. Right. If you were Irish, or you were somebody else, black, or you were Mexican, you weren't created equal. Right. It was written for the people who were in the club.
Right.
Now, those words still stand now, but the controversy continues about equality here in this country.
So when you hear the politicians say, I want to go back to the Constitution of the United States, to the fundamental values of the Constitution of the United States.
I have no problem with the fundamental values of the Constitution, as long as it's implemented to every human being.
Right.
Okay? And the problem was originally it wasn't implemented for every human being.
And so when these people are invoking
you weren't a person if you were a person of color.
Right.
You weren't counted as a human being.
You were property.
Yes.
Okay.
You were property.
You were property. So when these guys say they want to evoke those visions, they want to go back to the good old days.
Yeah. Well, I would say that they're getting a little high on their own rhetoric. You know what I mean?
I call it the leave it to Beaver syndrome. So you know. So what else is going on, man?
Well, you know, again, you know, I just want to remind everybody, because we're running out of time and we're laughing here a little bit. We have the summit coming up, and that summit is an immigration summit. It's April 7th at the Sheraton Hotel. Admission is free. All community organizations, if you want a table, you call us. If you want to participate on a panel, if you're an educator, we're reaching out to the community now to have panelists. Orange County Sheriff's Office is going to be represented. ICE is going to be represented on the law enforcement side. Cool. Homeland Security is going to be represented. And then we have the president of the Farm Workers Association from Washington. He's coming down to represent you know, farm workers. And then we have the Community Hope group up in Apopka. They're coming down. So all of these things are starting to come together, and we hope to have a nice meeting on Saturday, April 7th at the Sheraton, downtown Sheraton Hotel. Right. Don't forget the Hispanic plate, and don't forget, we're out of time. Jose, thank you so much.
Bro,
okay,
always.
And we'll see you next week here, Channel 49, Bright House Cable. We want to give a special thanks to Bright House. And next week we'll have another interesting conversation going on Hispanic Speak Out TV. We'll see you next week.